shapes. Now, if for some reason I want to change these, I could come in and I could do just the select tool and not do move, and I could come in and select all these items, and then I can come in on mass and actually shift these back and forth if I felt like I needed to. So you're not stuck if you don't like what's happening. Okay, so now we have the footboard or headboard. The one thing we want to be careful of is you see once again I have some Z fighting right there where it's blinking. So I'll take the headboard and I'll move it up just a little smidge, not too much. And now that's gone and that's fixed, and everything else should be fine for that shape. Okay, so now I'm ready to do the sides. So I'll grab the bottom piece, and this I'll do in the top view. So I grab the bottom slot and go to rotate, and I have my snapping on. Hold down the shift key and rotate off a copy. Hit OK, and relocate this up and over, and I want to line it up so it looks like it's coming out the other side of the leg. And if I zoom in, you'll see that I've spaced it inside the leg, which is the purple shape right there. And now I can go in and copy this, hold down the shift key and copy it over, and now I have the other side as well. And this program has a symmetry tool and a bunch of things, but I'm just showing you the kind of basic. Usually the rule is with visual is if it looks accurate, that's fine. It's not like we're doing CAD or high precision or manufacturing where we have to worry about making things a little bit more complicated than they are, or I mean more accurate. Okay, so now I'm ready to copy the footboard, and if I did a border select, and the thing you'll notice is I selected everything and it selected all this stuff at the same time. So there's an option right, where's the selection tool? Right here, which says that basically any objects that cross your selection box get selected. If I change that to only the things that are completely inside of it, go to border selects, and now I have the leg, hold down the shift key, now I copy that off, and now I have the headboard of the bed. Well, let me just maximize this so we can kind of see. So the problem with the headboard at this time is the headboard is always larger than the footboard. Now if I have everything selected and I go to scale, the problem is it not only scales the slats, but it also scales these other horizontal elements, which we don't want. The only thing we want to do is we want to basically increase the distance between the top two pieces and the bottom piece, and that requires increasing the height of the slots. Now there's a couple ways to do this. Perhaps the easiest way to do it would be to, we have everything selected, is to edit all these at the same time. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to add a modifier, and up to this point we haven't looked at this. So in the command panel, which is this section, we have the create tab, and the next one is modify. Now if we click that, you'll see there's 17 objects we have selected. That's how many make up the head and the footboard. And if we go to modifier list, there's a bunch of things, and what we want to do is we want to convert it to what's called edit poly. What this does is this takes all the geometry of the primitives and makes it so it's made of vertices, lines, edges, and faces, and we can edit it. Now if I go into vertex selection mode, all of a sudden, let me pull up all the viewports again, all of a sudden we can see all the vertices that make up this shape. Now all I need to do to change this is to select the top ones and grab the move tool and pull up the top until I get the height that I want. And then I deselect this, and now what I did is I just moved the vertices so the horizontal pieces are the same. I just increased the distance between these items. And once I do that, now I have the headboard. And then to finish this off, we're not going to make anything organic for a couple classes, so I can just come in and make one final box that I use as the mattress, and I can move that down, and you can tweak that. And then that would be good enough for this week. You could come in and go a little further if you wanted and add a box or two boxes for pillows if you felt moved to do so. Hold down shift and copy it, and let me hold down control, Copy both of those and move those down so they're on top of the bed. Okay, and then I could come in and group the whole thing. Group. And this is my bed. Hit OK. And now I can maximize the viewport. And if you look now, you can see that this is another object, and we've made a bed. So I ask you to go and take a look at the notes. There's some information about how to make something like a cabinet. Let me actually just pull it up. It's probably easier just to go over it. So let me bring up the description sheet. Actually, the lecture sheet. Sorry about that. Okay, so we go into the lecture sheet and we look. Here's a cabinet. Here's the pieces that make it. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to make anything out of a single block. You want to mimic the way that this thing was made out of the individual slats. So if you look, you'll see there's a slat here, I have a slat across the bottom, there's one for each door. Actually, you could break the doors up a little further, but for the drawer, it has its own. There's another slat. And the reason is we're going to add an edge to all the shapes, and we'll get these shadows. And the way that you know that one piece starts and the other piece stops is the shadows, where they meet, or the seam. And unless you model everything properly like this, you're not going to get the proper results. So just kind of think about this. If you really want to look at, okay, here's the top piece, I'm going to make that. Here's a slat that's coming around. Here's the drawer front. You don't have to worry about making the physical object inside of the drawer. Here's the door. Now, the door I only show as one piece. You could actually make this out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces, build it, and then copy it. So just to kind of keep that in mind while you kind of think about this stuff. Now, the last shape, or last thing I want to talk about is right now we're only making straight shapes, but if you look at a lot of this arts and crafts stuff, you'll see like here's a curve, or there's a curve. Now the question is how do you make that? So what we're going to do is we're going to use a process called reticulation, where we take straight lines and we adjust them to create the illusion of a curve. So let me go through the process of how to do that. So let's go back into Max. I'm just going to basically just at this point just do a new file. It's easier. No, because I already have these saved. Change the maximize viewport of everything. Now remember, I have my grid off, so that's why you're not seeing it. Remember, if you hit G, it turns the grid on and off for each viewport that you have selected. And I'll just zoom extends all, make sure they're all the same size. And I'm going to create a box and do my same thing in the top view, draw it out, and then the front view, give it some height. Now, once I have that made, if I go into the Modify panel, you'll see that there's actually segments. So you can see there's a width that has one segment, the length, and the height. Now, what I can do, and this is the power of this, is I can increase. I'll do that one. I want to increase, and let's do, if we do 4, yeah, that'll work. So what I did is I just increased this to 5 segments, which gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical shapes. You can see it in the top as well. Now, if we look in the perspective viewport, you'll see you don't see it, but realistic, and you choose edge faces and you turn that off. Okay, so now we can kind of see everything. I usually have that on a lot of times when I do polygon modeling, so I can see stuff and just kind of have an idea what's going on. Now, in order to do anything the same way we do with the bed, if I go up to do a edit poly, and now there's the vertices, you'll see I activate those. And in the front view, what I can do is I can select the middle ones, so you can see border select 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices, and what I'll do, move those up. And now I'll deselect by clicking a left mouse button somewhere else to deselect everything, hold the border again, and take that and pull that up. And then toggle the vertex out to get out of that mode, because if not you can't. And you can see now I've created a curve. So that's a pretty simple technique to actually use, but it goes a long way and it kind of helps to create the illusion. Keep it pretty simple, because we'll have other ways to go in and do it, and if someone looked at this from afar, they wouldn't necessarily know what it was or what it wasn't. So the final thing you want to do is you want to set up your viewport, and this is for each of your pieces of furniture, and I'm just going to use this even though it's just a single piece. And I'm going to maximize my perspective viewport and figure out my angle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to go, and let me just show you what happens if you render. There's a couple ways to render. You can just do Shift Q, you can choose render from rendering, and then there's this teapot, and you can click that as well, and it'll render your shape. So the thing that I want to adjust with this is the background is black right now, and if we go look at these pictures that we looked at earlier, they're all white backgrounds. So in order to change the background, you go to rendering, and you go to environment, and background color, you click the swatch that's black, and you change it to white, and then you maximize your perspective viewport, and you click the teapot, or you go render, and now voila, I have my rendering. Now in order to do something, you'll see there's a save right here. So I want to save this image, and you want to navigate to where you want to save this. I'm just going to put this on my desktop for the time being, but I would, well, let me just do a folder, homework folder. So I create a new folder. This would be A02 or Snyder underscore A02. And then inside of this would be Snyder A02 rendering 1. And then as far as format, you can just do a JPEG for this, which is just what they use on the web. It takes out some information. It's not necessarily production quality, but it makes it small enough that you can upload it and move it around. And just hit save for that. And you can just use all the defaults, that's fine. And then you would do the same with your other model and render that as well separately. And then once you have that done, now I have the shape. Now let's say I would go in, I know I don't have it, but I can just copy this picture and put it in. And now what I would do is I'd have my model, and then I'd have my rendering. And ideally you want to get these so they kind of look as similar as possible. Granted, the color and the lighting isn't going to be precise, but to get the idea. And then when you open up your file, you would have another rendering of your other file and the other model. And then the other thing you want to include, so there's actually 6 things, is you'd want to do save as, and go find your folder, and then this would be Snyder A02 model 1, and the extension would be .max, which will automatically save it. So now when I go to my folder, I will have 2 max files, 2 images or reference images, and 2 renderings. And then I take that whole thing, go onto Angel, and upload it. And let me pull that up real quick just to show you. So I'm going to go on my ACC login. And I will choose Virtual Campus. And I'll go to Art 154, Content. And then I'll hit Assign with Dropbox. Give it a second to load up. There we go. Okay, so now I got my desktop. So let's pull that up. There's my folder. Now what I did is I have multiple objects in that folder. I could zip it, but the nice thing is that there's actually, if I upload that, that's not going to work. It's a folder with multiple files, and you can only upload one thing at a time. However, I can zip the folder and upload it in one at the same time. So I hit the zip icon, zip upload. It's going to ask me what to name it. Just name it the same thing. So all this did is this added the .zip to the end of the name. Hit OK. And if I follow, you say uploaded file Snyder, and uploaded, transfer succeeded, and I'm good to go. And submitted my homework. So that's it for class 2.